Or what about that person you wanted to date in high school? Do you remember that person? No matter what you did, they just were not into you. And you could do whatever you liked, even if you had a car, it wasn't going to work. And years later, perhaps you went to a class reunion and met up with this person again and thanked your lucky stars. But that one didn't work out. Perhaps that very slow driver in front of you has just lost his wife, and his sadness has slowed his foot. Perhaps the slowness is saving you from some unfortunate incident, or perhaps it is there to teach you patience. Look at all the situations as an opportunity to learn and grow. Look at how the situation is here for a reason. This isn't always easy. I know it's not always easy. When I had a heart attack 12 years ago, I came to face with my mortality. But you know what? I'm still here. Thank you. I feel the same way. In the beginning of the Christian movement, we see the character of the Satan begin to change. And we see it begin to change gradually. There are many, many sects going on with many different beliefs, and I mean to tell you, some of them are way out there. And some of them are exactly what we believe. But there were many, and the powers that be that were beginning to organize the church in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century began to see that this Satan could actually be turned to what now I call Satan, and could be used to control the people. It could be used in ways to get people to do what they wanted them to do by the use of fear. You know, if people are afraid enough, they'll do almost anything. And so this is what began to happen. It was a distortion of what Jesus taught. But somehow they did not want people to read the scriptures, and most people, many people couldn't read anyway. And so they told people what to believe. Those who adopt this view are encouraged to believe, though, that we are God's people. Don't we all think we're God's people? We're all God's people, right? We're all God's people. But they are not. They are not. They are not. They are not God's people. Consequently, since they are not God's people, they are enemies of God, and then therefore they are enemies of us. Can you see how that can lead us into war?
Sure.
Can you see how today there are suicide bombers who believe that very thing? They think that by killing us, they are doing God's work. Can you see that? They truly believe that. And we truly believe that when we demonized some other country or some other people, that we were doing God's work. That God was on our side. And I always wondered, didn't the people on the other side think that God was on theirs? Of course they did. Of course they did. They thought God was on their side. But we know that there's only one God, and it's us. All of us, not just us in the United States, but all over the world. So as long as we have an enemy, we can demonize, we can kill easily. Until all people can see the divinity in each other, they and we will never be free. we are held in bondage by our hatred and fear. I don't know how to get out of this except for us in our own human hearts to begin to change. Because we're certainly not going to let somebody come and kill all of us, are we? We will fight back. But before we start the fight, perhaps we could talk a little more. Perhaps we could get to know the other people a little more. Perhaps we could get to know their culture just a little more. To understand that not everybody thinks the same way we do. But that can be okay, so long as they don't want to kill us over it. So this morning, I want us to think long and hard about what's in our heart. How do we feel when we see those roadside bombs going off? How do we feel when someone comes to our land with a bomb in their shoe? What is it? What is it that we must do personally, just us, to create a more just world, a freer world? Not just for us, but for all people. Today, as we begin our 4th of July celebration, let us afford all humankind the same love and respect we feel for our friends. Once we make friends, we no longer believe our fears about another. We are all different. We all look different. We have different cultures. We have different families. But we have one very important thing in common. We are all God expressing in our own way. Emily Cady, the author of Unity, says, there is no evil. And what she is saying is, evil has no reality except what we give it. Yes, we see people behaving badly. But there is no separate entity that is working behind the scenes to make people believe in such a way. That is a choice that we make based on many things. The devil didn't make me do it. Just doesn't fly anymore. What did I say? The devil made me do it. It just doesn't fly anymore. When Jesus said, resist not evil, he gave scientific advice. He spoke a universal truth. He also laid down another law of equal importance, the law of agreement. Agree with your adversary quickly, a law based on the same underlying principle. He understood the laws of life, the laws of mind, that humankind can accomplish nothing by fighting negatives and shadows, but can produce results only as he cooperates and builds in a spirit of cooperation. As long as human beings see things from a feeling of separation, we will never be free. We will never be free. I believe the founders of our country were divinely guided in the crafting of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. How else could they have written, we behold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Now it is up to us to protect this freedom. But fear can take it away if we are not vigilant. The founders don't put their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor on the line for power or fortune. In fact, many of them lost their lives or their fortunes. And with our ragtag army against a large, trained British army, it's a miracle that we're not singing God Save the Queen here today. Giving up the idea of Satan, the devil, and evil creates the freedom we all desire above all else. Let there be freedom on earth, and let it begin with me. If there is one God and God is all, how can there be a power against God? God bless America. God bless the United States of America and all of humanity.